Have you ever stood in the middle of a room filled with your belongings and felt a strange heaviness pressing down on your chest? Have you ever wondered why the simple act of getting rid of old things can feel so overwhelming, almost paralyzing? We are told that decluttering is easy. Just toss, donate, move on. But deep down, you know it's not that simple. Because every object you own isn't just something you bought, used, or stored away. It's a chapter of your life. A memory sealed in fabric, wood, paper, or glass. A quiet witness to who you were, who you loved, and what you dreamed of. And when you decide to let go of these things, you aren't just making space on a shelf. You are facing the passage of time itself. You are confronting the bittersweet truth that some seasons have ended, some doors have quietly closed. And that realization can be both heartbreaking and liberating. Today, we're not here to talk about organizing tips or how to tidy up in 3 easy steps. We're here to have a real conversation about what decluttering after decades of living truly demands from your heart, not just your hands. There are 5 brutal truths that no one warns you about. Truths that can either weigh you down or set you free, depending on how you face them. Before we dive deeper into this journey together, if you believe that the most important conversations are the ones that touch the soul, I invite you to subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about life, we honor it. Piketty. Number 1, every item is a story. When you look around your home, what do you really see? Is it just a collection of furniture, books, clothes, and keepsakes? Or is it something much more powerful, something much more personal? Because if you look closely, truly look, you'll realize you are not surrounded by things. You are surrounded by stories. Every item you own carries a memory, a moment, a version of yourself you once were. The book tucked away on the highest shelf isn't just paper and ink. It's the long evenings you spent lost in its pages, the dreams it ignited, the quiet comfort it brought during lonely nights. The tools rusting in the garage aren't just metal and wood. They are the echoes of the afternoons you spent fixing, building, creating. Reminders of a time when your hands were steady, your energy endless, your dreams tangible. The dress hanging untouched for decades, the one you can't quite bear to give away. It's not just a piece of fabric. It's the night you wore it, the way you felt, the sparkle in your eyes, the laughter in the air, the feeling that for one moment the world was exactly as it should be. Even the simplest objects, a chipped coffee mug, a faded armchair, an old wristwatch, hold invisible threads that tie you to who you have been. That mug, it's 1,000 mornings shared with someone you loved. That chair, it's countless afternoons rocking a baby who now has children of their own. That watch, it ticked through decades of triumphs, losses, and ordinary days that were anything but ordinary. And that's why decluttering feels so heavy. Because you aren't just sorting through objects. You are walking back through the corridors of your own life. Letting go of an item isn't merely a decision of space or utility. It's a farewell. A whispered goodbye to a chapter, a season, a piece of yourself. And sometimes it feels almost like a betrayal, as if you're denying the importance of those memories by releasing the things that carried them. But here's the truth you must hold close. You are not the things you keep. You are not your bookshelf, your closet, your drawers full of old receipts and souvenirs. You are the sum of every experience, every love, every lesson. And nothing you choose to release can take that away from you. When you free your space, you are not erasing your past. You are honoring it. You are saying, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the lessons. Now I am ready for what comes next. That act of gratitude, that act of courage opens a door, not to a life of less, but to a life of more. More clarity, more freedom, more room for the new stories still waiting to be lived. But even when you understand that you are not your possessions, even when you whisper goodbye with gratitude, the act of letting go doesn't come without its battles. Because tucked inside so many of those objects is something even heavier than memory. It's guilt. Guilt that grips your heart the moment your fingers brush against an old letter, a forgotten gift, a cherished heirloom. Guilt that whispers, if you throw this away, you are throwing away love, throwing away loyalty, throwing away the proof that you mattered to someone once. And if you've ever stood frozen, holding something you know you no longer need but can't quite part with, you already know. Decluttering isn't just about what you own. It's about what you owe, or at least, what you believe you owe. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the heavy, invisible trap that keeps so many of us stuck. The guilt that no one warns you about. Number 2, the guilt trap. Guilt is a silent weight. It creeps in unnoticed until one day you're holding something seemingly small, an old birthday card, a dusty figurine, a faded jacket, and your chest tightens. You know it serves no purpose anymore. You know you haven't touched it, thought of it, or used it in years. And yet your hand hesitates, trembling slightly, because letting it go feels like an act of betrayal. You might hear an inner voice whisper, if you give this away, you're giving up the person who gave it to you. You're giving up the moment it represents. A letter from a parent long gone, a hand-knitted scarf from a friend you haven't seen in decades, a souvenir from a honeymoon that ended in heartbreak. None of these are just things. They are vessels. They carry love, promises, losses, and hopes you once held close. And so, guilt wraps around you like a vine, tightening with every item you place into the donate box. You begin to wonder, am I being ungrateful? Am I forgetting them? Am I dishonoring their memory by moving on? But here's what guilt never tells you. Love doesn't live inside a necklace. Gratitude isn't trapped in a pile of old books. Memories aren't stitched into the seams of an old suit. The people who mattered, the moments that shaped you, they already live inside you. They always have. Keeping something out of guilt doesn't honor the past. It burdens your present. It fills your home with silent accusations, reminders of who you were instead of invitations to become who you are now. And guilt doesn't just whisper about memories. Sometimes it shouts about waste. You see an expensive coat you wore once, and guilt says, you should have used it more. You're wasteful. You look at a set of dishes passed down through generations, and guilt says, how dare you let this go? This is family history. Ponanam. You hold on to broken gadgets, outdated clothes, half-finished projects, not because they serve you, but because guilt convinces you that discarding them would be an unforgivable failure. And then there is the most paralyzing guilt of all. What if I need it someday? What if I throw it out today and regret it tomorrow? This what-if guilt is a trap door, keeping you suspended between action and regret, never fully stepping forward, never fully stepping back. But the truth is, life rarely circles back to the things we have already outgrown. The coat that hasn't been worn in 10 years won't suddenly fit the life you are living today. The broken lamp you meant to fix 5 years ago is not silently counting down the days until you finally pick it up. And if by some chance you truly do need something again, there are always ways to adapt, to borrow, to find anew. Clinging out of fear only ties you to a version of life that no longer exists. So how do you free yourself from the guilt trap? You remember this. Love is carried in the heart, not in the box stored in the attic. Wisdom is reflected in your actions, not in the dust gathering on forgotten gifts. Respect is shown by living fully and lightly, not by carrying unnecessary burdens from a life you have already honored. Decluttering is not an act of disrespect. It is an act of devotion. Devotion to your well-being, your peace, and the life you are still meant to live. You are not letting people go. You are letting the weight of their objects go. And when you do, you free yourself to carry their love forward, unburdened, alive, and open to what's still ahead. And if these words are touching a place inside you right now, reminding you that it's okay to release and to heal, I invite you, gently, warmly, to subscribe. Because sometimes the smallest step toward freedom is simply hearing that you are not alone. Number 3, the painful realization about heirlooms. There's a quiet hope many of us carry in our hearts as we grow older. A hope that the objects we've loved, the treasures we've saved, the heirlooms we've protected through the years, will find new life in the hands of those we love most. We imagine our children setting the old dining table for their own family gatherings, using the silverware polished for decades of celebrations, treasuring the quilt lovingly sewn by a grandmother's hands. But sometimes reality meets us in a much colder place. The day comes when you offer these precious things, and the answer is a gentle shake of the head, or a polite smile, or sometimes silence so heavy it says more than any words could. They don't want the table, or the china, or the books, or the clock that ticked faithfully through your childhood. And it hurts. It feels like a rejection, not just of the object, but of the story it carries, of the life you lived, of the memories you fought to preserve. But here's a truth that takes great courage to accept. Their indifference is not a judgment of you. It's not a dismissal of your love, your history, or your worth. It's simply a reflection of a world that has changed. Today's generations live lighter. They move more. They value experiences over possessions. They find memories in digital photographs, not in photo albums tucked into wooden cabinets. The heavy oak furniture that anchored your home might feel like an anchor to them too, but not in the way you hoped. The ornate china set you used once a year might feel fragile and foreign to a life lived in fast-moving cities and compact apartments. Even the photo albums, once lovingly arranged with care, might pale in comparison to a digital slideshow shared instantly across thousands of miles. And while that realization can break your heart, it can also set you free. Because it reminds you of something essential. Your true legacy is not an antique table. It's not a collection of tea sets or a shelf full of leather-bound books. It's the laughter you shared over those meals, the lessons you taught at that table, the strength, the warmth, the stories you passed down, not through things but through love. Objects are only symbols. Love is the inheritance that matters. Instead of clinging to the hope that your belongings will validate your life's meaning, you can start asking different questions. What stories do I want to leave behind? What wisdom do I want them to carry in their hearts? What part of me do I want them to feel even when I am no longer standing beside them? Sometimes, what they will cherish most won't be the things you protected carefully for decades. It will be a handwritten letter, a well-loved recipe, a memory of how you made them feel, loved, seen, understood. So if the time comes when your treasures are not wanted, let your heart rest easy. Release them with gratitude into the world, where someone else may give them a new life. And hold close the truth that the most valuable things you pass on are invisible. They are felt, not stored, because you were never meant to live on through objects. You were meant to live on through love. Number 4, the weight you don't see. We often think of possessions as comforts. A warm home, full shelves, familiar things at every turn. It feels safe, grounding, like a soft cocoon woven from the threads of our life. But what we rarely notice until it's too heavy to ignore is that comfort can slowly turn into a burden. Not because we stop loving what we own, but because what we own begins to own us. The truth is, the more you accumulate, the harder life quietly becomes. And the heaviest burdens aren't always the ones you can see. It starts subtly. A drawer you dread opening because it's stuffed with old papers. A closet you avoid because it's crowded with clothes you'll never wear again. A garage so full you no longer remember what's buried in the back corner. At first, it's just a minor inconvenience. But over time, the invisible weight grows. Every object, even the forgotten ones, takes up space, not just on your shelves, but in your mind. You may not realize it, but every time your eyes pass over a cluttered table, every time you navigate around an overfilled room, a small part of your brain registers it. It reminds you of tasks unfinished, decisions unmade, responsibilities deferred. And slowly, silently, that background noise becomes overwhelming. It wears down your spirit like water wears down stone. Not in one great rush, but in a steady, relentless drip. A cluttered environment fuels a cluttered mind. So, it makes it harder to think clearly, to rest fully, to breathe deeply. It whispers of chaos even when the room is quiet. It invites anxiety, steals focus, and feeds a quiet but persistent fatigue. And then there's the physical toll. As our bodies change with age, so do our abilities. What once was simple, bending, reaching, climbing, becomes harder, more dangerous. Stacks of boxes become tripping hazards. Heavy furniture becomes an obstacle to maneuver around. Even cleaning, once a quick task, becomes a draining chore as you dust and shift and tidy countless things that no longer truly serve you. It's not just about inconvenience. It's about safety. It's about maintaining your independence, your ability to move freely, your power to choose how you live each day. And it's about emotional weight too. The haunting sense that you're trapped inside a museum of your past, unable to step fully into the present. Many people cling to their possessions out of fear that letting go will leave them empty. But the paradox is that the true emptiness comes not from losing things, but from drowning in them. Drowning in memories you no longer need to carry. Drowning in obligations that no longer reflect the life you are trying to live today. Decluttering isn't about giving up comfort. It's about reclaiming it. It's about creating a space that feels light again, breathable again, where every item that remains serves you, not weighs on you. Imagine walking through your home with ease, sitting down to read without the nagging reminder of clutter around you. Imagine waking up in a space that feels calm, organized, and clear. That is not just aesthetic improvement. That is healing. That is freedom. Because in the end, a home is not a storage unit. It is a sanctuary. It is a place where your soul should feel at rest, not restless. Letting go of the weight you don't see is not about living with less. It's about living with enough and with peace. Number 5, decluttering is not a one-time event. One of the most painful misconceptions about decluttering is that it's something you do once, a grand purge, and then you're done. As if one intense weekend of sorting, boxing, donating, tossing could free you from the burden forever. But the truth is much harder. And much more human. Decluttering is not a finish line. It is a way of living. It's a quiet, daily conversation you have with yourself about what matters and what no longer does. Life doesn't stop moving. New things arrive, a gift from a friend, a package you ordered, a brochure you picked up, a memory captured in a keepsake. If you are breathing, you are accumulating. And if you are accumulating, you must also be releasing. Otherwise, the clutter returns, not all at once, but like a slow tide, creeping back in around your feet, until one day you look around and realize it's heavy again. It's too much again. And so, real freedom is not found in a single act of decluttering, no matter how noble or brave. Paniri. It's found in the daily discipline of asking yourself, do I still need this? Does this still support the life I want to live today? Am I holding on to this because it serves me or because I am afraid? And sometimes, even after you've done the hard work of letting go, the emotional fatigue lingers, the sadness, the second guessing, the sudden ache when you realize you threw away something you never thought you'd miss. That's part of it too. Decluttering is not a clean, perfect process. It's messy. It's emotional. It's filled with little stings of regret and waves of unexpected grief. But each time you face it, each time you choose clarity over clutter, lightness over heaviness, present over past, you build a new kind of strength. A quiet resilience that says, I can move forward without carrying everything with me. Because the life you are still meant to live, the laughter you haven't yet shared, the dreams you haven't yet dared, the peace you haven't yet fully embraced, does not wait for you in the crowded corners of your home. It waits for you in the space you are brave enough to create. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: the freedom you seek isn't hiding inside the things you hold on to. It's blooming in the empty spaces you dare to make. So as you continue walking this path, remember, decluttering is not an act of losing. It is an act of becoming, not just once, but every single day you choose to live lightly, live intentionally, and live fully. So here you are, standing at the quiet crossroads between what was and what could be. Surrounded not just by objects, but by the echoes of the life you've lived, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, the everyday moments so small you didn't realize. At the time, they would become your most treasured memories. And now life invites you gently, firmly, to let go of the weight you no longer need. Not because those memories aren't sacred, not because your past isn't precious, but because your hands need to be free to embrace the life still unfolding before you. Decluttering isn't about erasing your story. It's about honoring it, and then making space for the chapters you have yet to write. It's about breathing more freely, moving more lightly, living more intentionally, in a home that nourishes your spirit instead of burdening your heart. And know this, the space you create by letting go is not empty. It is full of possibility. It is a canvas stretched wide and waiting for the colors of your next dreams, your next laughter, your next beautiful, ordinary day. So be gentle with yourself. Let each object you release be a thank you to the life you've lived, and a quiet, courageous yes to the life still ahead. If this journey has spoken to something deep within you, I warmly invite you to subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about letting go. We walk beside each other hand in hand as we choose to live lighter, freer, and more fully, with every step, every breath, every day. Thank you for being here. And until we meet again, may your heart be light and your home be filled not with clutter, but with peace. Enchananan.